Alright, hello everyone. Welcome back to Days of Darkness, and also welcome back to CoronaMania, baby. Part 2. We're talking about 28 Days Later today, starring Cillian Murphy, Naomi Harris, and Megan Burns, directed by Danny Boyle, and was written by Alex Garland. Now, this movie was released in 2002 and was in the UK, and then was subsequently released in America in 2003. I'm not sure about everywhere else around the world, just going off of what, I'm going to get it right this time. IMDb tells me. There we go. I botched it. Almost botched it. But anyways, but yeah, we got this movie a year after our homies in the UK got it. And holy shit, I'm glad we did when we did, because this movie kicks ass. I remember watching this with my sister, and we really dug this one, and we also watched 28 weeks later as well. Still waiting on 28 months. What's going on? This is just not going to happen. I'm kind of pissed off about that, but hey, whatever. I'm sure I'll get to 28 weeks later at some point, but for right now, we're talking about 28 days later. I'll stop getting off track. Would I recommend this film? Just to start off my spoiler-free section, absolutely. This film is very unique in the zombie genre. Like I said before, with Return of the Living Dead, some people are very picky with their zombies. Some people are. For me, I really like when filmmakers experiment with the idea of what a zombie is. And it's like, I've heard people even debate on if the creatures in this even are technically zombies. I would consider them to be zombies, but yeah, some people don't consider these dudes zombies, which I can see an argument for because they're very unique. Not nearly as much as Return of the Living Dead, where they're just talking and like walking around and opening up doors and all that, but they are still very smart and very yeah, I won't get into too much until the spoiler section hits. But yeah, overall, just the graininess of this movie as well, the way it looks, it's very I don't know if you'd want to say a documentary feel to it. I've never really understood that term. I get what people mean by it, but it's like people say like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which fun fact is one of my favorite horror films ever. I say that's a documentary style film, and I've heard that said about this as well, and I'm like, is it just because of the way it looks or how everything's presented? I'm like, to me it's a movie. It's a damn good movie. Like, absolutely. This is a fantastic movie, but maybe they're trying to say it just feels so real, or I don't know. Maybe if someone wants to explain it in the comments, that would be greatly appreciated, because I don't get it. All I know is this film looks fantastic. It's a very grainy, very dirty looking movie. Movie like this would be kind of weird when it's all like clean and polished and HD. Not saying I don't like that, but I'm really glad they the budget kind of restricted them to do this, because this is a lower budget film. You can just tell, but not in a bad way. That really only comes through in regards to the look of the film. But very good. All the effects are great, and pretty much anything you would want in a horror movie, you get here, and more. Honestly, the characters are very. I'm not gonna say there aren't one-dimensional characters in this, because there definitely are. But like your main character Jim, gets a lot of depth to him. Selena, who is Naomi Harris's character, also has a lot of just interesting qualities about her. You get into some of the other characters as well, which I won't reveal. But everyone's pretty polished. The main four people in this movie are pretty entertaining, and then you get to bad guys, and they're a little one note, but they're still entertaining. They're still fun, and they're bad guys, so this isn't really a spoiler, but when you see them get killed off, it's very satisfying. Just because of some of the shit they pull in this movie. Bastards. But anyways, so yeah. Like I said, overall, though, just would I recommend this? Yeah, for sure. Definitely check it out. But anyways, We're going to get into spoilers. Just a quick rundown of the film here. Like I said, immediately you are plopped into a horrible situation. There is a little bit of background. Is about I'd say 7 minute intro of just excuse me, of just these animal rights activists breaking into a research facility, and they're trying to free these monkeys, and the scientist is like, fucking stop, don't, like, you don't know what you're doing. And yeah, man, they don't know what they're doing, because one of the chicks releases a monkey, and this dude rips her apart. This movie isn't very gory. You don't get a whole lot of like blood and guts, the good stuff. But it is still pretty brutal because you can just hear the sounds and everything, and it's like I said, lower budget film here, so they're not gonna just throw everything at the screen, which I think personally works for this, because sometimes not seeing things kind of makes it a little more scary, honestly, because you're like, what the hell is he doing to her? And but yeah, he fucks her up, and then you immediately, screen goes black, and then you get one of the coolest title cards just because it's so unique and so simple. This film is very less is more film, I would say. They don't throw a bunch of special effects at the screen. There's not a lot of flash to this movie, and I think that's really, I mean, obviously that's evident throughout the entire movie, but when you get to the title card, it's literally just right in that little spot there on the screen, which you can't see because the DVD case is in front of it. But anyways, it's like right in the bottom corner of the screen. It just says 28 days later, ... And then yeah, you were immediately plunged into holy shit with this fella named Jim, played by Cillian Murphy. Really like Cillian Murphy. It's a cool actor. I don't see him a lot anymore in a lot of stuff. I mean, he's still obviously working, but definitely should be in a lot more stuff. Loved him in Batman Begins. Loved him here. Red Eye, which I haven't seen in a really long time, but I thought he was great in that too. Overall, very versatile actor, and I like him a lot. So, anyways, I'm gonna stop killing. Gonna stop kissing Cillian Murphy's ass and get to it. But anyways, so yeah, he is waking up from a coma. You don't really get a full-on explanation as to why he was asleep for so long, but the way his hair is cut, you could tell he had long hair, and there's just a patch that's just gone. So I'm guessing brain surgery, maybe fixing some cancer or something like that, because he also is very sickly looking. So that's very possible that this dude was straight up dying before all this started. And you also get a little bit of stuff later on. But yeah, so he's walking around and everyone's gone for the most part. I mean, everyone's just, there's no one there. He goes out he goes out into the streets with all this really beautiful cinematography of London. And that was a horrible UK accent. I apologize if I ever get any UK viewers. That was terrible. It just sounded like country fucking twang. Anyways. But yeah, so he's going around London. Again, beautiful, beautiful city. And very eerie looking when everything's just... when everything's just gone, essentially. There's no one there. It's just silent. And so I also kind of wonder, like, how did they... Was this all closed set? Because there's no way. Because it's like, there's literally just open panning shots of the city. And it's like, you can't just get everyone to leave. And like I said, at least I would imagine this budget was pretty low. So I don't know. Like, I don't know what they did, but no matter what they did, it looks fantastic, the opening of this film. And he ends up making his way to a church, and that introduces us to the zombies in one of the most terrifying ways. He just sees all of these dead people just kind of like in this church, and they're all, bodies just piled on top of one another. And then you see him just go, like, I think he says like hello or something, and one zombie just like does that and just stares at him. His mouth is like wide open. He's like, and just no music, no loud fucking stupid jump scare sound, nothing like that. Just stares at him, and then another one does, and another one does, and he's like, okay, I'm out of here. Then as a priest comes out, and he's also a zombie, so he's like kind of, uh, lumbering his way towards Jim, and Jim punches him in the face. He's like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, and he's just like, he's so unaware of what's happening. He's just like basically freaking the fuck out. He has no clue what's going on. So not really a funny scene, but just imagining waking up and having no one there, and then just all of a sudden this priest is trying to kill you. It's like you're like it's just, the laughter is from a state of uncomfort, because I'd be terrified. But yeah, so he eventually finds himself into some shit. We get introduced to Selena, who's also with another dude. I believe his name is Mark. And they end up saving Jim's ass. And they end up bunkering down in a gas station where they tell him everything. They end up... he's bound and determined to find his parents. He's like, I need to go find my parents. And then what proceeds to happen is they go to the house the next morning, and he finds his parents there. They are dead. They committed suicide. So they didn't get, eaten alive or anything like that, which it's interesting I say eaten alive, because I will get to that in a second. A little interesting tidbit about this. H2O, drink your water, people. But anyways, so really, really sad moment there. Like, he's just kind of... he didn't even get to say goodbye to him, because he just wakes up in this horrible apocalyptic situation. And yeah, he just wakes up, and he goes there, and they're dead. And they even leave him a note, because they're holding a picture of him as a baby. And he picks the note up, and it's like, they just say something like, we left you sleeping, and now we're sleeping with you. Don't wake up. And it's like, holy shit, man. That's that's really sad. And it's like, I would hate to like be in a position to like see that. Like, ugh. I found myself like putting myself in that character's shoes throughout this film. It's like, what would I have done if I would have seen something like that? I probably would have just lost my shit, honestly. But yeah, so they after that, he like ends up watching a video, like a home video that they made, and then some zombies come up, and eventually they break into the house. Well, not eventually. I don't know why I said that. They're really good at breaking windows in this movie. These zombies just fucking like bust through these windows. It's pretty insane just how like quick everything happens. But yeah, so Mark ends up getting bitten, and then you see that Selena does not fuck around at all. She immediately, like, she sees he's bit. He's like trying to be like, no, 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 and then she just fucking hacks this dude to death. And it's like, you think, it's like, how long was she with this person? Like, you imagine there would be some emotional connection on some level of some sort, but not with her, at least at this stage of the film, because she just hacks him to shit. And you see it, not like, again, not a lot of it, but like you just see one part where his arm just fucking comes off, and you're like, oh god, she just hacks this dude apart until there's like nothing left, and it's like, woo, god, this chick is not fucking around at all. And Jim just kind of watches this person get murdered in his house, and he's just like, what the fuck. But yeah, so they end up getting the hell out of there before more dead show up. And then we get, they eventually see some lights in this apartment building, and then we get introduced to pretty tension-filled, yeah, there we go, tension-filled scene with, them running up a staircase of this apartment building, and these zombies just hauling ass after them. And then we get introduced to Frank, who is in this big bulky fucking riot gear and really cool stuff. That's some stuff I would definitely want to have in a zombie apocalypse, because he just gets these zombies to fuck off pretty quick. He's just like, bye. And I think, yeah, one just falls all the way down the stairwell, and it's pretty brutal, but awesome. Then we get introduced to Frank's daughter Hannah, and then you get to see some. I always appreciate when any type of apocalyptic movie does this, not necessarily zombie, but I'm gonna have water nearby for these reviews from now on. This is nice. But anyways, you get to see how they're just dealing with the apocalypse. Like, you go out to the apartment building, and you see all the rain, like all these buckets that are collecting rainwater in. And I think there's a moment where Jim is shaving, and Frank comes up to him and says, yeah, the plumbing's not working, so we just have to use a bucket. And then we toss it out. And you're like, gross, but okay, thanks, man. Yeah, really detailed stuff in these scenes. And yeah, so they eventually are able to connect to a radio frequency. And it's it's basically these soldiers saying, like, salvation is here, like, come on up. And, well, we're in the spoiler section, but that's not true. But they don't know that, so that's where their next journey is, because they know they're just going to die at this apartment eventually. So they make their way there. You get some moments of, obviously there's some scary shit that happens. One in particular would be in a one, I don't know the term for it. I guess you'd call it like an underground, a tunnel. We'll just call it a tunnel. So they're driving through this tunnel. You know what I'm saying? Fuck off. They're going through this tunnel, and their tire flattens because Frank's kind of a dumbass at some points in this film, and he just like drives over all this wreckage, and sure enough, surprisingly only one of their tires pop. So they're having to fix that while zombies are about to come get them. That's pretty crazy. But also you get a lot of levity in these scenes. Them like raiding a grocery store, and they're just kind of, they're just running around having fun, making the best out of this horrible situation. And also there's a scene where they're all at one of their camp spots, and Selena and Jim are just kind of talking, and they see Frank having fun with his daughter, and there's even some romantic tension in this, because she just kind of, I think Selena, by this point in the film, she's lightening up a little bit. She's not nearly as hardened as she once was. And she actually, kind of gives Jim a little smooch on the cheek there. And Jim's kind of like, she goes, sorry. And he's basically like, I'm not mad at it, and I wouldn't be either, because Naomi Harris is a very, very pretty lady. But anyways, I'm really glad this movie has scenes like that, though, because especially with a movie that's as dark and as gritty as this, it's good to have those moments of levity, because in order to connect with your characters, I'm glad that a lot of filmmakers, especially in horror, understand that you need to have those moments of levity. Because that can connect someone to a character just as much as them going through some deep, dark, terrible shit. A little side note, I just watched The Nightingale yesterday, and for anyone who's seen that movie, you're gonna cringe when you hear me say that I watched it with my mother. And yeah, that movie's like a prime example of like a lot of it being deep, dark, horrible, awful shit. But the filmmakers still understand that levity is important, and this film is no different. I had to get off on a little tangent about The Nightingale. I absolutely adore that film, and that review is coming at some point, I promise. Very, very good shit. Anyways, on to the film we're talking about again. So yeah, so a little romantic tension, a lot of levity, and then they finally make it to the army base, and it's basically a sham, but they don't know that, and so it's just abandoned. It's basically made to look like these guys were either killed or they just abandoned the place. Excuse me. So Frank's pissed, understandably so. He's just very frustrated because they traveled with seemingly a very long way to get nothing. And so he's all pissed off and he's breaking shit. And he eventually, this crow starts like kind of, you know, crowing at him, being annoying. And Frank kind of kicks a pole to get him off, like, because this crow is basically gnawing at this dead body, this infected dead body. And when Frank kicks it, this bird flies off, and a little drop of blood from this infected person just bloop right in Frank's eye. And going in off on another little tangent about the uniqueness of this film, you do not have to get bitten in order to get infected. Getting any blood on you whatsoever, especially in the eye, that'll do it, and you're fucked. And I really like this scene because Frank, he gets it in the eye and he just knows. He's like, I'm fucked. I'm done. And I think Hannah kind of comes up to him and she's like, hey, and again, another fucking brutal, sad scene. Hannah's like coming up to him and be like, are you okay, Dad? And he goes, yeah, I'm okay. Just go play with Selena or whatever. And then it's so heart wrenching. He like, cause you see these dudes, this father and daughter are so close. And then he knows he's fucked. He knows he's done. She doesn't know that yet though. She will in a second, but she doesn't right now. And he goes, Hannah, I love you very much. And she's like, love you too, Dad. And he's just like, yeah, this isn't gonna go good. And she kind of like starts coming up to him, being, are you okay? And he's like, get back. And he, starts zombing out, which needs to be a term. Zombing out, baby. He's zombing out. But yeah, so he's, losing it. And all of a sudden, just bullets just fly through this dude. And Frank gets killed. Like that, quick. Really like that this scene is so sudden and so just jarring almost. It's jarring in a good way because it shows how one little fuck up, one little mistake is you're done. That's it. You're done. Very, very good scene. Very emotional scene. Rip my boy Frank. Anyways, so these army dudes are not dead and they have not run off. That is just a little diversion, I guess, to make sure the people who come there aren't infected or aren't, shady or anything like that. So yeah, they take them to the actual base, which is this huge like mansion, and these guys end up being complete shitheads. These guys are not good people at all. Just part of the British military, and some of like I kind of doubt that some of them were to begin with, because the way some of these guys behave, not like, like there's some of them I can absolutely see being soldiers, but some of them are just either, complete wimps, or they don't know how to handle a gun, and they're just incompetent idiots. And maybe they were just trainees when all this happened. I don't know, but either they're trainees or they just kind of stumbled their way into their little gang or whatever. But yeah, so they end up. It is revealed eventually that their whole plan is to essentially rape Selena and Hannah in order to breed and repopulate the Earth, as it's as one would think to do, but maybe not in such a brutal way. It's like, meet someone you like, fall in love, then fuck, then you can repopulate that way, but not, maybe not, kidnapping women and raping them. That's a little fucked up. But they're so messed up in the head that they think this is the best way to do it. And, it's like, women are hard to come by, so we're going to kidnap you. They try to execute Jim along with one of the soldiers who... They take Jim and another soldier who just doesn't feel right about this at all. And, yeah, so they, they kill the soldier, but Frank ends up... not Frank. Rip Frank. Anyways, not Frank. Jim ends up, skedaddling, and then he ends up. I don't know what happened, but this dude ends up going fucking crazy. I guess it's because he cares so much about Selena and Hannah. And, but yeah, this dude ends up coming back and basically using the dead as a weapon, which is a really, really cool way to, um, I guess, end this movie, because this is the final act of the film. And he just ends up taking. They have one zombie that's all chained up, and he's like they're trying to research, which is like research is just consists of him coming out and just looking at him and like seeing when he starves to death, and which I don't think zombies do, but you know who knows. But yeah, so he ends up setting him free, and that zombie ends up running throughout the entire mansion and just fucking killing everybody. And you know, obviously from that point they get infected, and it just spreads, as I'm sure we can all relate to at this time in the real world. But anyways, but yeah, so and yeah, this and then you get, as all films do with, you know, the bad guys, you save the two biggest baddies for last, and we end up getting my kill of the movie, where there's one particular rapey fucking shithead who's like really into Selena, and he ends up basically trying to take her away while all these dudes are getting infected and getting killed and everything. And he's like, you know, just saying all this stupid pervy shit, you know, like, oh yeah, we're gonna find a spot somewhere real close to here. Yeah, then we can get down to business, baby, and all this fucking, you know, usual typical sicko shit. And the zombie doesn't get him, Jim does, and it leads to my kill of the movie, where he just pounces on this dude and just slamming his head into a brick wall, and just, you know, boom, boom, blood's fucking going all over the place. And then he gets him on the ground, and you see it too. This is one of those ones in this movie you actually do get to see a little bit of. It's so brutal, but it's awesome as usual. Just fucking gouges his eyes out, and like you see him just go all the way in. I'm like, oh god, fuck. Eye torture is no bueno for me, but I can acknowledge that it's an amazing kill, and the best kill of 28 Days Later. And yeah, so they end up killing the big baddie when they basically, I think, oh god, I can't remember the exact sequence of events. Oh, they're riding off in a car, and he ends up, I guess, sneaking in the back of it, and he's basically telling them, all right, go back to the house. So, you know, I guess, I don't know what his plan is from there, but he's just saying, like, all right, go back to the house. And she ends up basically backing into the front end of the entrance of the mansion where the zombie is, the original zombie. Very poetic here. The zombie that he was doing all this research on ends up seeing him. Hannah backs the car into the entrance of the mansion where this dude's just hanging out, and comes up, that blows the back of the car out, and this zombie just, you know, fucking grabs him, rips him out, and just rips him to shreds. And it's like, just desserts. He's not gonna starve to death now, is he, fucker? But anyways, so yeah. And yeah, then they end up getting free. There's a little moment there where you think, like, oh my god, they just died, because Hannah just tries to plow her way through the gates that are chained up. They end up being alright though. And oh, I didn't even mention this. At one point Jim gets shot in like the abdomen and by the big baddie guy. And he ends up being fine. They're all okay. And they end up finding help at the end of the movie. This plane flies by, and they lay out this big tarp, and it just says hello. And yeah, That's the end of the movie. Very light-hearted, happy ending to this extremely gritty, brutal, dark film. And yeah, I really enjoyed it. Already got to my kill of the movie and all that, so I don't need to go through all of that. And it looks like that is it. So right on. Absolutely check out this film, guys, if you haven't already. Really cool zombie action, and but yeah, that does it for 28 Days Later. Very fantastic film. At some point, I will get to 28 Weeks Later. I actually haven't seen that film in a very long time. But next up, coming very soon, we will be reviewing Train to Busan. All right, guys. Have an awesome, awesome rest of your day. Stay safe, take care of each other, and watch more horror movies. All right. See you guys. Have a good day.